Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to explain why you should not be a simp. Now, to begin with, let's be objective about this discussion and start by defining our terms. What is a simp? For those of you who are not familiar with internet culture and familiar with, if you've basically been living under a rock, a simp is basically he's basically that stereotypical nice guy who appeases to girls constantly. And idolizes every woman he comes across, and always finishes last because all these girls will be like he'll be idolizing over this woman, and the second he says anything showing any interest in her, she's like, oh, let's just be friends. And then R.I.P. that dude. His relationship with that woman is over, and he never really had a relationship with this woman to begin with. And people love to make fun of simps because it's extremely cringy when a dude basically goes after a girl and is constantly appeasing, constantly sacrificing all of his values, all of his own values in life for a girl. These are the type of guys who will sacrifice friendships for a girl that they meet online or something like that. These are also the type of people who, when you are watching, let's say they're watching like a girl, or these are the type of people who will go on Twitch and watch these girl gamers and then donate like $100 and say, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful and so pretty. I really just pass me a crumb of punani, please. But they never say that because they try to be respectful. They try to be respectful, but deep down it's like, oh, just a crumb of punani, please, please, a crumb. Just give me a little taste of the pussy. But and they always fail because they idolize women. And actually, one example of this that I see that's very common is on Snapchat. These girls post these things called YOLOs, basically. Basically, they post these things where dudes can swipe up and send anonymous messages, and then they'll go and post them on their story and stuff. And it's really funny to see how much people simp over women in this sort of thing. Now there's some people who are just straight up like, oh, give me some pussy right now, and like it's obviously a joke and it's funny. Now some people are like serious about it, and those are also simps. Those are people who are like, when they become anonymous, they're like, oh my god, please give me a crumb of punani, just a little bit of pussy, and these are just those horny simps who are like, yeah, just trying that. And then there's the other people who will see these things, see all this, and be like, oh my god, you're so beautiful, you have to deal with all this disrespect. You need a man who can treat you right, who can treat you respectfully. And these are the fucking simps. These are the cringy ass dudes. And the girls will always be like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet, swipe up on my story. But then when they do swipe up, they'll talk, and then they'll realize that dude has no personality, idolizes women, and will end up, after a while, the dude will say, oh, can I come to your house and get a little crumb of the punani, or a little bit of and have sex with you? And then the girl, or they'll never say that because they're not going to be upfront with anything, but it'll be like, oh, I would be interested in coming to your house later this week if you're okay with that. Just like trembling in his boots constantly. And then the girl will be like, okay, you can come over. And then they'll just hang out, and then he'll slide over on the couch a little bit, and the girl will slide back and say, oh no, I don't view you like that, let's just be friends. You're a nice guy and everything, but I'm not actually interested in you. And now, why is this? Why do these simps not get laid? Well, primarily it is because they reek of secondhandedness and idolization. They take these women and they put them on this pedestal, where they will basically worship them, idolize the fuck out of them. And that's not how women want to be treated. The women want a guy who will go out and, well, think about what, even as a guy, what you want. Like, you don't want a woman who just completely idolizes you and sacrifices all of her desires, all of her own life for you. You want someone who is actually pursuing values in the world. You want someone who's actually trying to achieve certain things in the world and has friends, has passions, has things like that. Because anyone else, those people are fucking boring. Nobody wants to spend time with somebody who just completely idolizes you and makes you sort of the center of their life. Nobody wants that. You should not idolize women. That's not the right strategy to take when it comes to pursuing women and trying to trying to achieve love, basically achieve this value of love. You should not treat these women like they're these idols, and you should not sacrifice your friendships and like tell your friends like, oh, I'm talking to this girl right now, and like let's say you're in a group with all your friends, and you guys are just hanging out, and you're just constantly like sitting on your phone texting this girl, and like looking up occasionally but never actually saying anything, and your friends are like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, I'm texting this girl, responding like 2 seconds after every single text that she makes, after every single one word response that she makes with like, yeah, whatever. So you're just sitting there doing that, and you're sacrificing your friendships, you're sacrificing things in your life that are important, or you basically just make her the center of your life that your world basically revolves around. And that idolization, you're sacrificing your own life. You need to be out there pursuing valuable things. You need to be independent. That is a lot more attractive than someone who completely idolizes somebody. Now, what happens to these guys after they do this, after they idolize women and fail, they basically get into this, they form this concept that, oh, nice guys finish last. Nice guys can never get a girl. Nice guys, these women are just so superficial, and they don't see that I'm just trying to be nice to her. And well, this is where it comes from. It comes from the fact that you are being second-handed. You're being respectful and nice, but you're not actually giving her something to want. You're not giving her any values to desire in you. You are just idolizing the fuck out of her and sacrificing your own desire for just give me a crumb of punani, please, a crumb. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know, I don't know if people know what punani means, but that's always a word that people have used to describe pussy or vagina. And yeah. So for those of you who don't know what that word means, same thing with simp. I have to be sure to be clear in defining my terms in these type of videos. But yeah, so these are those like desperate, horny dudes who try to be nice and respectful, and yeah, whatever. And they ultimately fail because these girls, they don't want them back. They can't fall in love with a guy who offers them no values. And yeah. So then they see that all these guys who treat girls disrespectfully are getting all the pussy, and they're like, what the fuck? Why am I treating them so respectful, and these bad boys over here are treating them so disrespectfully, and pickup artists are treating them so disrespectfully, and they're getting pussy. I mean, that's ultimately what the goal of all these people is. It's not an actual relationship. That's not what the desire is, because they just don't treat love as something that's actually a value, in a context. Like, love is only a value when you want a certain woman, like when you want a woman who is actually valuable. These people kind of treat it almost intrinsically, where it's like, oh, I just want sex as such, I just want pussy as such, and why can't I get pussy by just treating girls respectfully? And then, well, basically then they see these bad boys sort of getting all the girls, basically, and that pisses them off, and they become incels, because it's like, oh, these women are so superficial, and they just want these guys who will disrespect them. And you know what? I'm just a nice guy. I'm not gonna disrespect these women. Well, what is it that women are attracted to in this? Why is that more attractive than an incel, than the sort of simps who just idolize over women? Well, these bad boys, these dudes who disrespect the women, this is not the perfect way to do things either, as I'll get into. But these guys appear independent. They appear like they have their own desires out of life. They have their own values out of life. Like, they're not going to sacrifice their life for this woman. They're independent, and women will see that virtue in them and pursue that. And that's a lot better. That's a lot more attractive than the guys who will just sacrifice all of their desires, all of their independence for a woman. However, this style of life does not lead to fulfillment either, because what these guys do when they're being disrespectful, they're playing off a woman's insecurity. This is something that Frog Machine talks about a lot, and I talk about in my pickup artist video. When you are disrespectful to a woman, to a attractive woman, oftentimes she'll think, if she's insecure about herself, she'll think, oh, why is this dude disrespecting me? Every single other guy wants me. Every single other guy really like idolizes me, and this dude seems to be different, and he doesn't want me like that. That's weird. And then she'll start to pursue him because it's like, oh, the thing that I can't get, and like, it's like, no, I'm gonna make this guy like me. I'm gonna make this guy like me. Like, she feels insecure about the fact that he doesn't like her, so then she like wants to resolve this insecurity by making sure that this dude likes her, and she's fundamentally being second-handed in this sense, and it's fundamentally based on a lack of self-esteem. And deep down, these guys who disrespect women, they know this. They understand that they're playing off this lack of self-esteem in a woman. They don't know it explicitly, but they understand this in a very basic sense, not clearly, not super clearly, but they, without putting to words, they understand this fact, and they realize what they're doing. They're getting women based off of their insecurity. They're getting women based off their insecurity, and that and that leads them to get this value of sex based off of nothing, based off of insecurity. So like the pride that one would achieve from sex is null. It becomes a negative thing, because the whole reason that you're getting this is because these women are insecure, because of the vices inside of the woman. So that leads to deep insecurity, this leads to a very low self-esteem in these guys who get women this way. So I think fundamentally that is not a very good way to get women either. So the nice guy and the disrespectful guy, that dichotomy is bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. And there's a sense in which it's related to the subjectivist versus intrinsicist view of love, because these incel type people, these simps, the nice guys, they have this view of love where they treat girls intrinsically. They have this intrinsic view of love where they highly desire love, and they'll get it at whatever cost with any woman, and that's basically their ultimate desire. They want to get love as such, without context, without caring about what that specific woman is, without actually putting into context whether or not they like that woman and what all is involved in this, without actually keeping the context in mind. They'll just intrinsically pursue this intrinsic value of love, without actual reference to why love is valuable and why this specific person would be valuable. And this obviously leads to the idolization that we see with these simps and these nice guys. Now the disrespectful guy, he treats love subjectively. He thinks that this is not that big of a value. I'll just disrespect women all I want, and I don't have any respect for this person that I love, and I just want sex and done. And that also is very, as I've explained, is very bad for your psychology. So there's a sense in which this nice guy versus disrespectful guy dichotomy comes from the intrinsicist, subjectivist view of intrinsicism and subjectivism, and it's basically those applications to a view of love. So the fact that this dichotomy is so prevalent in the culture is very much related to the intrinsicist subjectivist dichotomy. Now, don't be a rationalist and say like, oh, these people, these nice guys have an intrinsicist mentality, or like they have intrinsicist views of love necessarily baked down into them. That's not necessarily true, of course. There can be all sorts of explanations. You don't need to be a rationalist and sort of say, oh, because this is correlated, or because this behavior is related to an intrinsicist view, these people are intrinsicists as such. No, they could be inconsistent, they could be evading it. There's all sorts of other explanations that also make sense. So don't be a rationalist in this sense. That's an important point. But this ultimately does come from an intrinsicist versus subjectivist view of love. These people fundamentally have a certain intrinsicist view, while these other people have a sort of subjectivist view of romance and love. So what is the objectivist view? Now that we've sort of shown this dichotomy, like most objectivists do, they show how sort of this dichotomy in the culture is related to the intrinsicist subjectivist dichotomy, and then we present the objectivist view. So this is a pretty standard objectivist video, to be honest, but not necessarily. I think there's a lot of good value out of this particular video, but yeah. So the objectivist view would basically be, you don't want to idolize every woman indiscriminately. You want to make sure that this person actually holds a value to you. A relationship with this person would actually be valuable to you, and it would actually be important. Like it's an actual person who is valuable, who would be in your self-interest to start a relationship with. You need to constantly be thinking about that. That's important. You can't idolize every single person like a simp would do. But you also need to understand that love is a value. Love is something that is valuable. It's not something that you can just completely disregard and say is completely meaningless and just pursue sex by any means necessary. You need to you need to understand that this is important. You can't try to pursue women and achieve women based off any means necessary. You can't achieve them based off their lack of self-esteem. You need to constantly keep in context of why love is a value and why it's important. But obviously not intrinsically so. You need to be objective about this. You need to make sure that you are pursuing women who are actually valuable to you, and you're actually valuing that relationship. You're actually valuing that relationship as a relationship, not just a means to the end of sex. Because when you view sex as this sort of disconnected thing from a relationship, you're not going to actually be fulfilled in the relationship, and you're not going to be fulfilled in the sex either. So fundamentally, one should search for a valuable woman and live their own life. And that's the fundamental here. If you want to avoid being a simp, live your own life. Pursue your own values first. Pursue your own virtues and values before you start going out and trying to achieve a romantic relationship. You should have your own values apart from that. You can value romance. It's a very good thing to value romance, but you need to have other values apart from that. You need to value your friends as well. You need to value your career. You need to value everything, and don't ever become a simp. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.